Hello, good morning, and in the video for the day we will be taking up the topic of ratio. Now we all have learned to compare quantities of similar kind in different ways. The first way here is to compare the two quantities by finding their difference or comparison by difference. So suppose you can say you got 40 marks in your maths exam and your friend got 80 marks in maths exam. So you are going to tell your parents that you got 40 less than your friend, or you can say that your friend got 40 marks more than you. So here we are comparing the marks by finding the difference between them. That means 80 minus 40 gives you 40. So there is a difference of 40 marks. So this kind of comparison by finding the difference is known as comparison by difference. Another way where you can compare the two quantities is by division. Okay. Now suppose you can say that you got 40 out of 80, that is 1 by 2 in the lowest term, or you can say half of the marks that your friend got. Or your friend can tell his parents that he got 80 by 40, or twice the marks, 2 times the marks you got in your maths paper. So this type of comparison where you are comparing the quantities by division is called the comparison by division. So you can say a comparison of two similar quantities. By division is known as the ratio. So in the ratio we are going to compare two quantities by division method. So a ratio is usually expressed by this symbol, there are two dots. This is known as is to. So if I am comparing two same quantities, suppose P and Q, then I will be comparing it by division, that is P by Q or P is to Q. Okay. Here P and Q are the terms of the ratio. So the two quantities that are supposed to be compared are known as the terms of the ratio. So P is to Q, where P is the first term of the ratio, also known as the antecedent. Q is the second term of the ratio, also known as the consequent. And this sign, that is to sign, this represents the ratio between two similar quantities. Now there are certain points to remember while dealing with ratios. The first one says the quantities to be compared should be in the same units. That means if one is given in kgs, the other one in grams, you cannot compare until and unless you change the kgs to gram or gram to kgs. So the quantities should have same unit, then only you can compare them. Secondly, a ratio is simply a fraction and has no unit. Why? Because when you are comparing the quantities, suppose A kg of one thing and B kg of another thing, when you are dividing, these units get cancelled. Therefore, this is simply a fraction and has no unit. Okay. Third, the ratio is always expressed in its simplest form, or you can say the lowest form. So what is the simplest form of a ratio? Now, if you are comparing two quantities just like fraction, okay, A and B, they are said to be in the simplest form when they have no common factors other than 1. So except for 1, if there is nothing common in this thing, then A is to B is said to be in its simplest form. Let us understand this by a question. So we have to express the following ratios in the simplest form. Given to you is 150 is to 400. I have to change this ratio to its simplest form. So what will I do? I will simply write it in the fractional form or the divisional form, and I will change it into the lowest term by dividing by common factors. The first time I have divided by 10, so it reduces to 15 by 4. Sorry, 15 by 40. Now 15 and 40 comes in the table of 5. So 5 3 times gives you 15 and 5 8 times gives you 40. Now for this 3 and 8, they will not be divided by any other number except for 1. Therefore 3:8 is the lowest form. The fourth point here is to remember is if the order of terms in a ratio changes, the ratio also changes. Let us explain this by using an example. So it says if the order of terms in a ratio changes, the ratio also changes. Now in the given question, it's given there are 35 apples and 20 bananas in a fruit pack. We have to find the ratio, or we have to compare apples to bananas. So apples are 35 in number, bananas are 20 in number. That means the ratio is 35:20, which we can express as 35 divided by 20. Now here we can change the given ratio to the lowest term because both are multiples of 5. Let us divide the numerator and the denominator both by 5, or both the terms by 5. So we get 7 by 4 as the ratio, or your final answer for apples to bananas. The ratio is 7:4. Now if I want to find the ratio of bananas to apples, so I have to write the number of bananas first. This will be 20 is to how many apples? 35. Similarly, this can be written as 20 by 35, both again being the multiples of 5. Divide by 5. This will be 4 and this will be 7, or the ratio changes to 4:7. So here it is 7:4. When the order is changed, then it is 4:7. Thus, if the order of terms in a ratio changes, the ratio also changes. This you have to keep in mind. So let us do one example related to ratio, that we have to find ratio of 80 centimeter to 1.2 meter. The first thing what you will check is the unit. Unit should be same. Here we have to compare centimeter to meter. Okay, so we have to change them in the same units. So we know that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. For these ratios you need to learn the conversions. So be very sure that you know the conversions. So 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. Therefore 1.2 meter will be equal to 1.2 into 100. When you multiply this, you will get 120 as the answer. So you have changed 1.2 meter to 120 centimeter. Now we can compare the quantities as 80 centimeter to 120 centimeter. Both are in the same units. Thus the ratio will be 80 to 120. That is 80 upon 120. Dividing both by 10 first, I will get 8 by 12. Now I can divide both by 4, as 4 is the common one. So 4 2s are 8, 4 3s are 12. I cannot divide it furthermore. So 2 by 3 is in the lowest term. Therefore my ratio is 2:3. Let us take another example. That is 36 minutes to 2 hours. We know 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. Therefore 2 hours when changed to minutes will be 2 into 60, that is equal to 120 minutes. So now I will compare 36 minutes to 120 minutes. I have changed both the units into same one. So ratio will be equal to 36 is to 120. That is 36 by 120. Both you can divide by 6. You will get 6 by 20. And this 6 by 20 again you can divide by 2. So this comes to 3:10. So 3 by 10 is in the lowest form. Therefore 3:10 is your final answer. Hope you have understood the concept that ratio is a comparison of two quantities in the same unit. Now moving on to the next topic, that is equivalent ratios. Just like equivalent fractions, the ratios that can be expressed as one common ratio in their simplest form, they are also called equivalent ratios. You can understand this by the concept of fraction like 2 by 3, 4 by 6, 8 by 12. Now see, if I change this ratio to the lowest term, it will be again 2 by 3. Similarly, 8 by 12 I can change to 2 by 3 on dividing by 4. So all these ratios in the simplest form, they can be expressed as one single ratio, 2 by 3, 2 by 3, 2 by 3. Thus 2 by 3, 4 by 6, 8 by 12, they are all called equivalent ratios. So now let us do one question based on it. So it says find any two equivalent ratios of 6:4. We have to find equivalent ratios of 6:4. Now one way I can do is to divide this ratio by the common multiple. That means 2. So I will get 2 3s are 6 and 2 2s are 4. So 3 by 2 will be my ratio in the lowest form. That will be equivalent to 6 by 4. Another way I can find my equivalent ratio is to multiply the number by any other number. You can take 2, you can take 3, any number you can take, any natural number. So 2 6 are 12 and 4 2s are 8. So 12:8 is also equivalent to 6:4. So this is the required answer here. Now you can try out by by finding equivalent fraction of 2:7. And do send me the answers. In the next topic we have to compare the ratios. So we are given the ratios 3:7 and 4:9 to compare. The very first thing what we are going to do is we are going to write the given ratios in the form of fraction in its simplest form. Here they are already in the simplest form. So we will just write them in the form of fractions and compare as we do in the fractions. So taking LCM of 7 and 9, we know the LCM of 7 and 9 is 63. The LCM will be 63. Changing each of the fraction to the denominator as 63. So 3 by 7 as 63. I have to multiply 7 by 9. Therefore, I will also multiply the numerator by 9. 9 into 3 gives me 27. 4 by 9. I have to change the denominator to 63. Therefore, I will multiply the denominator by 7. Also the numerator by 7. So 4 7s are 28. Now this fraction is 27 by 63, that is 3 by 7, and 4 by 9 changed to 28 by 63. Now they have been changed to like fractions, so we can simply compare the numerators. We see that 27 is less than 28, therefore 3 by 7 is less than 4 by 9. Let us do one more question to understand the comparison of ratios. Now here we have to compare three ratios, that is 4:7, 7:10 and 4:3. The first thing we need to check is that all are in their lowest term. Then write the following numbers in the form of fractions. Take the LCM of all the denominators, that is for 7, 10 and 3. When you will find the LCM, it will be 210. So changing all the denominators to 210. We have to find the equivalent of the fraction with the denominator as 210. We know 7 into 30 will give me 210. Therefore, I have to multiply the numerator also by 30. So 4 3s are 12 and this leads to 120 by 210. Similarly, this will be 21 into 10 gives you 210 multiplying 7 by 21. 7 1s are 7, 7 2s are 14. This is 147 and 3 into 70 will give me 210. 4 sevens are 28, 280 by 10. Now suppose I have to write this in the descending order. So the highest one. Now these are all in like fractions. So we will just compare the numerators. So the bigger number is 280 by 210. Then 147 by 210. This is greater than. This will be greater than 120 by 210. So this is the descending order and I will write the respective fraction. So 280 by 210 was 4 by 3, which is greater than 7 by 10, and 7 by 10 is greater than 4 by 7. So this is the required answer in the descending order. Hope comparison of ratios is clear to you. So now what we have been doing in the ratios was just using it like a fraction, but there is a difference between a fraction and a ratio. So let us understand what is the difference between the fraction and a ratio. So now the difference between a fraction and a ratio. A fraction is a part of a whole or a part of a group. This we have already learned. And a ratio is comparison of two quantities of same kind. So let us understand this by giving example. Suppose there are 3 apples and 2 strawberries. So when I am taking it as a whole group and I am comparing, okay, so if I find the fraction of apples in the group, the total number of fruit is 5, that is 3 plus 2, that is 5. The denominator here will be 5. So out of 5, 3 are apples. And if I want to fraction of fruit, that is strawberries, that will be 2 out of 5. So the whole or the denominator or a part or a group, it remains the same in case of fraction. But while I am comparing apples is to strawberries, that will be 3 is to 2, or strawberries is to apple, it will be 2 is to 3. So when you are describing a number as a part of a whole, then fractions are appropriate, and when you are simply just comparing two numbers, then the ratios are applicable. So hope you have understood the difference between a fraction and a ratio. So in our next video, we will be taking up some questions related to ratio. This was all introduction. Just go through it. Till then, take care.